Skating right over my shoulder.
Yeah, I see that.
And a portion of someone's piano up there.
Oh, is that a real keyboard there?
It is, yeah.
Oh,
Friends
cool.
got me that as a birthday gift a few years ago. It's actually a sliver of an upright piano mounted.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. It's different.
Yeah, I like that, dude.
Yeah. Thought that was a good place to put it, just so it had a little safe home.
Mm-hmm. This is cool, Ron. I like this idea of live on YouTube. Great idea.
Someone else I saw do it, and I was going, okay, I think I can handle that.
And you are right. I think more people have YouTube access than Facebook access.
Yeah, I keep on seeing people like that there. It says it's going now, so streaming. Okay, well, I think it's on live. I'm gonna go check it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Do you have another source to go to see if it went live? That's a good way to check.
Yeah, it's on live right now.
Yeah, I see it up here on the window. It says live on YouTube. My iPad says that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I see it too.
Cool.
Oh, there's another one here. It says view stream on YouTube. That's cool. I wonder if I could click on that too.
I was going to ask you that. Do you have another source
Oh, yeah,
to go to see if
that's cool. Yeah, it takes you over. And yeah.
Yeah,
We're on like 5-second Grammy pause. Yeah, I see it up here on the window. It says live on YouTube.
Yeah, we're like on a delay or some sort.
Yeah, it's on a delay.
Cool.
I'm gonna make sure I close that down. Oh, there's another one here that says view stream on YouTube. That's cool. I'm quitting that. There we go.
Everyone on YouTube, like, stop talking about that and talk about other things.
Oh yeah. So first of all, I remember you guys from seeing you live at, what was it? Fest, was it 94 or 95?
94, we were in LA. We played.
Yeah, I saw you guys out there.
Yeah, that was Fest, yeah.
And one of the stories I always tell people it's funny is about 3 or 4 seats to my left, there was this old guy. Now back then, we're in the 30s, so this guy was maybe in his mid to late 50s, and he was like, when you guys started up, he goes, damn, these guys are fucking loud. And I'm like going, you're in a concert. What were you expecting? Elevator music?
And we're a rock band, not a full ensemble.
Yeah, it's like, and I was like, I mean, you guys were the most energetic sounding of that whole festival. And that was one of the things that I remembered about your guys' set. And then who was it that while everybody was in line to get in, someone was handing out
That was probably us.
That was us.
Yeah, one of you guys were handing out the CD singles.
Yep.
And I thought that was kind of cool. I got that, and at what store it was in my hometown, Glendale, California, I got the CD at one of the stores. I think it's called Music Plus.
Oh yeah,
cool.
And
yeah, Brett
got that.
I think, Ron, those CDs were actually what would have been like a video budget or something, because Sony talked about, do we do some sort of video? And we said, look, here's the deal. We're not really a video band. We'd rather get music into the hands of our fans ahead of time and new fans. So we almost thought of those CDs as kind of like a business card that you put in your car CD player.
Exactly.
And I think there were 2 songs on there, right, Brett? As the World and Wormwood, maybe?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
I got
that, Ron.
I have something that my price thing.
Oh yeah, the box set. Nice.
This thing, it's only downside is it doesn't fit in my shelf this way, so it has to lay down.
All right.
But every time you guys come up with a new one, it's like, I'm like going, okay, that's something I gotta buy.
Awesome.
Thanks, man.
I mean, the music, it's just, I mentioned a few times in Chris saw a couple of my posts is whenever I'm in a I wouldn't say down mood, but whenever things just feel like about ready to just the floor is about ready to break or the rug pulled out from under, I listen to was it? Let me pronounce it right. May.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to that all the way through. It has. I can't stop it. If I'm in that mood, I have to listen to it all the way through. And then at the end, it's like I go, okay, I feel a lot better.
That's awesome.
I feel a lot better. I don't know what it is, about that CD, and it just makes me feel better.
That's a nice little journey song that ends with a happy note.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's what I love about a lot of progressive rock music is the songs, whether it's lyrical or musical, they take you on a journey. Whether it be a 5-minute song or in your case, that almost 50-minute song. It's however long the journey is going to be. But it's like when I listen to that, it doesn't feel 50 minutes. It honestly feels like it's about 5 or 6 minutes because I think you get so engrossed into it, it's like you lose track of time. And
that's a great compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Writing that album, Ron, was like a journey for us. Every week we got back together. Sometimes it was once a week. Sometimes it was twice a week. We were all working full-time jobs at the time. That was the post-Sony days.
Right.
And I remember walking into the studio and we would just lose ourselves in going back and reminding ourselves what we had done the rehearsal prior. And then instantly sort of just letting what was supposed to happen next happen. Brett, you had a number. Was it like 13 rehearsals or something, or 15 that we did that song? Yeah.
Yep. I've got them all on tape.
Yeah, cassette tape.
Oh yeah, cassette tape. Yeah.
Just to kind of mark the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to just record every time we got together, and then I'd take it back and listen to it, and then, like Chris said, we would get together again. I'm like, all right, so that part there was really cool. Let's try to throw that over there. We would make it work. That album really came easy. That was one of the easiest things that we ever did. I would say probably Suffocating the Bloom was pretty easy too. Like the music was just coming out very fast,
Yeah. And not having to stop and think about much.
Yeah.
Like songs kind of write themselves, and then the next song was presented and it kind of wrote itself. And there wasn't a lot of bashing of heads or like, how do we get out of this part?
Yeah. I agree.
I do got an interesting story for you, and I think it's just mere coincidence. A friend of mine's band was going in, talking with, I believe it was Sony in 1994 to get their album on, and it was so weird how you guys got it, and they didn't.
Yeah, well, we got that deal in '93, so that was over the summer, and in like September we had the deal. So everybody, the album didn't come out till '95, over 2 years later. But we had a deal with them in the summer, early fall of 1993.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, okay, yeah. My friend's band, I was hanging out with them, and it was around 91, 92, and they were talking about that they were going to get. They had two things going. Either they were going to be signed as themselves, or they were going to be a backup band for this other guy, and it was going to be on Sony. And,
which label was it going to be on? Columbia or on Epic or one of their other labels?
I think it was one of the smaller ones that Sony has. Wasn't like, I know it wasn't either Columbia or Epic. It was
maybe Relativity 550.
550.
Yeah,
it was going to be on 5.
That's Michael Kaplan. So that's Epic. Yeah. It's a subsidiary of Epic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
550.
Yeah,
Ron, I don't know, Ron, if you saw this, but just a few days ago, we released some live tracks. And in my blurb about the song Winter Through, that was kind of one of the funny stories that happened that summer when Michael Kaplan called the studio. He, Greg, Brett's brother, was our manager at the time. Greg answers the phone. He's like, yeah, I'm an A&R guy from Sony. I'm sure Greg was like, okay, sure. Help you. And he basically explains that, I got this CD called Suffocating the Bloom. and I love these guys, and I love the song Winter Through. And long story short, he yells down the steps, can they play some Winter Through? I gotta just hear that they can actually play this stuff live and they're not just a studio band. So we launch into I don't know, a minute or two of whatever it was. And Greg said he was just laughing on the phone, giggling like a little kid, like, oh my gosh, these guys could actually pull this stuff off. And, we're downstairs like, well, yeah, that's what we do. That's who we are. We play this stuff live all the time. And we're working on material for a new album, which of course then became As the World.
Yeah. It was just kind of interesting, but then they went through a metamorphosis of a thing. And then I think it was in 94, 95, they just vanished, everybody kind of went their ways. I think two of them went back to Baltimore, and the drummer that was in Southern California, he just, he stayed. So it's like, and he was the one that was trying to get them more into a heavy metal sound, and they were more of a kind of classic rock, classic prog sound,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's like I got a chance to see them in the studio, how they were creating. So that's why whenever, when I hear bands tell their stories of how they do it, it's like I kind of try to picture myself right there as a little fly on the wall, as watching it, and how the steps. And it's like I don't think the general population understands what an artist has to do.
Nope.
They don't.
They just think it automatically magically appears, and it's
nowadays it's just like, oh yeah, music's free streaming all the time. I'll just listen to somebody's hard work for free. It's like, yeah, that's great.
No, give it to my friends.
Well, it's like I have a few people that they're talking about that. One calls it the evil empire, Spotify. And
yeah, it's not.
And when he told me some of the stories, about it, I was like, I just signed on to it because I just wanted to see what it was all about. And once he told me all these stories that the artists aren't getting squat,
nope,
that I just immediately deleted my account, and I said, I'm not gonna.
Well, it's funny you brought that up, because on the next record that Chris and I are working on, and stuff that I'm sure, I'm doing myself, and Chris maybe himself as well, but I want a consolidation of our music so it's more boutique and people have to go through us more, because it's just not right. It's horrible, what's going on with music. I have students that I teach at a university, and I have projects where I ask them, like, okay guys, like it's a sound design class, and I'm like, great, why don't you just get a song and put it in, and I'll show you how to do music editing. You can choose from your library of stuff, whatever you want to do. And they're like, where do we get the music from? And I'm like, just get it from your, your CDs, your iTunes library, stuff that you bought. And they're like, we don't have that. I'm like, well, how do you listen to music? And they're like, it's just streaming for free online. We listen to stuff free on YouTube. How do we get that? I'm like, dudes, so I'm like, well, I've got to, go to Keep Vid or whatever downloading YouTube platform that you can find and see if you can get this. Like, they don't own hard copies or even digital copies of music.
No.
It's all.
There's all mine right back there.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way.
I have the same here too.
Even like digital versions, I have thousands of copies that I've bought digitally on iTunes.
Well, I buy a lot of stuff. More of the mainstream stuff on Amazon, and Amazon gives you the little MP3 that you can play on there.
Yeah.
And I do go on YouTube and stream some songs, and
I do too.
If someone tells me of a band, and I'm going, I never heard of them before, I immediately go over to YouTube, type in the name, listen to it, and if I like it, that goes on my my endless Amazon wish list, that I'll eventually buy.
Yeah.
And someone goes, well, why don't you just download it and rip it to your computer? I said, don't want to do that. I need to hold the CD in my hand.
Yeah. Well, that generation's going away. That's all changing.
Exactly. I can understand if especially in some people, if they have smaller apartments that they're not going to be able to have room. Like for me, I don't have room for vinyl. Because if I had all of those back there on vinyl, I think it would fill a bedroom.
Yeah, easy.
So it's like, and I don't have the room for that. So I stick with CDs. And then someone said, well, why don't you go digital? And I said, no, because what if there's going to be that one time computer crashes and then there goes all that music that I bought gone.
You want backed up.
Well,
So
I would
Ron,
then.
go ahead, Brett.
Well, I was going to say that applies to photographs too.
Oh yeah.
So people are just taking photos of their entire lives on their cameras. Now, fortunately, with music, digital music, we have cloud services and stuff like that.
Oh yes.
So that's going on now, which is all part of, technology and what's going on with the ephemeral quality of what we do as far as like saving aspects of our lives through photography. And with musicians like Chris and I, it's the music that we have. It's all digitized. I don't have tapes of our past 3 albums. It's all digital music, but I have to be proactive and save it on hard drives. I have an outsourced company that backs up my stuff every day into a cloud. I have backup here at home, so I'm safe. But
Right.
most people our age aren't doing that. Kids these days, kids are doing it, or their parents are, and they're just trying to figure it out. But the part
Right.
about not buying music, I don't get that, right? But I see it as something that's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have that thing called OneDrive, and I put every picture that's on my when I take with my phone or my tablet. I have it automatically. It gets backed up onto the cloud. I put some movies that I find like on YouTube that are public domain, or the quality is so bad that no one's really going to care that you have it. Have those. So it's like, you can't, with all the music, movies, and pictures, you can't fit it into your physical house or apartment, or else where are you going to sleep?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Ron, one thing that I think we've done a pretty good job with, and we brainstorm as a band all the time, how do you put some free things out there to find new fans and to give people a chance to taste and try your music? And then how do you also continue to remind people that we do need you to pay for this too, because us making it costs money. We have to buy equipment. We have to rent studio time. It's nice to be able to pay the people who are your producer, your engineer, your musicians, all the people down the line. So like even the other day, one of the things when Brett was going through these recent tapes for the live stuff that we just released 2 live tracks, Entry from As the World and Winter Through from Suffocating the Bloom. He came across a cover tune we had done at a festival by the band Radiohead. And so it's sort of a double-edged sword. If you're going to charge for a cover tune, there's all kinds of copyright ramifications you can get to. At the same time, why not give away a free song to fans to just say, thanks for being our fan. Thanks for checking in. And it was nice. There was actually, I think his name is Daniel from Brazil, on our website actually paid us a compliment and said, I love that every time Echolyn puts out something to buy, they also give us something for free. And I think that's one way bands have to continue being creative in this new sort of Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music world. Of course, you want to make music, but you're going to have to throw some freebies out there too, because that's how you find new fans. And it's also how you remind your older fans, like, we're very appreciative of you. We really appreciate you still staying on board. In our case,
well, this is like what the signatures here. The signatures here too, for me, is and that same thing as you're saying with the free thing. It's like an added thing that you guys took the time to sign it. And I know there's people out there that get those things and then they go, hawk it on eBay for God knows how much money, And it's like, whenever I see that, I'm like going, come on, why don't you donate some of that $100 for that $20 CD you got, and donate it back to the band, saying, thank you. Here's your cut, your finder's fee or something like that.
The good news with these is if people have our CDs, we have probably made some money from that, because that means that they went through a distributor or they went through us who sent them to the distributor. And then at that point, yeah, I mean, it's supply and demand. You're right. If someone wants to sell a signed copy that they paid $20 for 10 years ago and someone else is willing to pay 100, I mean, I guess that's called market demand. But yeah, like Brett said, we're going to have to navigate this whole new album release, because the question is, will we press any CDs? Do we do 1,000 CDs? Do we want to also do 500 vinyl, like a limited press? Because in the world of digital, it is what most people are doing. And I think all three of us agree. I know myself, if an album's coming out, I also want it now. So I do tend to go to iTunes, instantly buy it, because I want it in my hard drive to listen to work tomorrow. And then I just burn it to a blank CD and have it in my car.
Right. Yeah. For me, I personally like CDs. Now I have this thing about, and it's mostly in movies, but these limited edition, special edition things that they make a small amount, and then once it's sold out, all of a sudden you see these things pop up on eBay. Now it's like, I think if someone, music and movies, if you do that, that's something nice for the collector. Now for the average person that just wants to either listen or watch, you should have a standard, thing, and that's how I kind of think, the best for music. Like, I mean, look at what is it? Transatlantic is doing with their newest one. They're releasing it 3 different ways, and then the super deluxe set. All the, I know they're on the Inside Out music that they can do it that way, but it's like it kind of limits the average person, especially someone that doesn't have a huge budget to get every single release that comes out that month. Because there's some times where I don't get a CD maybe a few years later, because I can't, there's so much stuff coming out. So many bands are putting out music, and it's so hard to pick, okay, which one what am I gonna get now, and which one am I gonna get later? And it's like,
you're saying because of the cost, Ron?
I think it's the cost, or when you make it limited.
Right.
It's like, like with movies, how they put that little slip cover, and and add any of the bells and whistles, and I mean, that's cool for the collector.
Yeah.
If you got especially if you got the display space, that's cool. I think the average listener just really wants the CD, and if there's bonus tracks, they like to have that too, because they want to see what. I think bonus tracks, in a way, could be what Christopher's saying is, here's a little extra, as a thank you. You bought the CD.
Yeah, we did that with our past 2 albums. We had the one we released in 2012. We had a bunch of extra songs, and the last album we had 1 extra song. But we initially gave those away for free to people that did a pre-order for us, and then then we just to say thank you for supporting us early, so that we could help pay for the CDs. And then what we did was we put them all up for sale online on our Bandcamp page, which obviously you can see there. But it's not hard. They're not hard to get. They're there for people, and buying a song for $1 is it doesn't seem like much, but it's kind of cool. I think that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we've done really by Bandcamp, actually. Brett, you were the one who introduced us as the band members to that from years ago.
Yeah.
They've been incredibly supportive as an artist supportive website. Of course, they're in it to make money too. Yeah. But, at the end of the day, they were doing digital distribution, like our CDs were going through them as well. Now I'm sorry, I said digital. I meant analog, like CD copy, hard copy. Now they are just digital. But like Brett said, the fact that you can sell a song at a time, the fact that you can do an album at a time, the fact that you can just upload random singles,
right?
It's user friendly. We're doing it from our laptops. It's not like we have to send it off to someone to do it for us.
Yeah, and what interests me is that I want to be able to control that too. Like there's obviously an advantage to having free marketing where somebody puts a song up on YouTube that people can go and see and listen to. But there is a line. Like if you have somebody that has 20,000 hits of, say, like a song like Empyrean Views or one of our other songs, I don't think that's right. I mean, I think those people should be going and buying for $1 our song. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And if this was the 70s and the 1970s when we were growing up, and somebody and people bought 20,000 copies of a single, we'd all be doing really well financially. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen anymore, you know, and it's
No.
frustrating, you know. My other group that I'm in, Rise Twain, with Inside Out Records, you know, we have 30, 40,000 hits on a video and stuff like that, or a song. And it's like, I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing any money from that. It's like, I want to, like, and it's because nobody's paying for it. There's got to be, like, the only way you can make money is when you start doing 1 million hits, you know, and like, that's not the way most people are.
Right.
Like the music, like there's a big, wide berth of people that are just, you know, in that sort of like 20 to 150,000 copies or views, and those people should be compensated for that. You know,
I think so.
Free. Shouldn't be free.
Hey, Brett, is there a way, I feel like Bandcamp does this, where, and correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe I'm misinformed, where you could say, I only want people's devices to play the song for 3 times or 5 times for free.
We have ours set up right now for 3.
Okay, that's okay.
Oh, that's cool. That's good.
And I like at least the concept of that, because what it's actually doing is the 4th time you go to play it, it's reminding you, you've now actually consumed this piece of art 3 times for free. If you're coming back for the 4th time, this would be a really nice time to buy it and support the artist who made it, not only for their intellectual property of this is their idea, right? They thought of it, sang it, they played it, but also for the cost of what it costs to make, you know, engineering costs, studio costs. Yeah. It's a conundrum. I'm like Brett, I'm also a teacher. I teach younger students, but it's the same thing. You try and talk to middle and high school kids about the concept of paying for music, and they look at you sideways like, why would I do that? I can go get it for free. And it's, why would you do that? Well, would you go to the grocery store and just like grab the bananas and grab the Doritos and grab the milk and just walk out? Like
I say, Chris, I always say, like, well, what are you going to do when you get out of school for a job? You know, and they'll be like, well, I'm going to get into, you know, software development. I'm like, cool, just make sure you do that for free. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know, make sure you just make stuff up, put all your time into your software app or whatever you want to get into, and just give it away.
Or if you're going to work a 50-hour week, I'll pay you for 10 hours.
Right. Yeah.
And right away people would say, that's not fair. And it's like, well,
yeah, you know,
it's
that's
all
why with bands, you know, the progressive rock bands in the United States, I try, and I've missed a couple of pre-orders on certain bands, but I eventually do get it. I try to buy it directly from the band itself. But outside the country, it's a little more difficult because of the shipping cost of the CD.
And you like hard copy, right? You need
I do.
Yeah.
I do like it because it's nice to be able to go, you know, and go, oh, I got this, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and I could just pull it out every once in a while and take a look at it. You know, I do upload my the CDs onto my computer so that I can hear it there. So it's like whenever I'm here in this room, I like to listen to music on the headphones, and it's easier than going out, go get the CD. It's just easier, but at the same time, it's like it's something that I've already owned, so I'm just putting it on my device, you know, that I can be able to listen to.
Yeah,
I mean,
love that. That makes sense.
You know, because you can't always go and get the CD and pop it in your CD player. You know?
Oh, Ron, I have a habit every Sunday night. I walk into my CD room, which like your room is racks and racks of CDs. And I treat it like a little menu where I'm like, I'll grab this one from my jazz bin. I'll grab this one from my classical. I'll grab these 3 rocks. And then on Monday morning, I have a little baby stack of CDs that sit on my passenger seat. And it's like I'm the human DJ where I'm like, so what am I in the mood for? And then through the week, I just pop CDs. and I could easily put them on my phone or my iPad and Bluetooth them into my stereo. I still like sticking the CD in the CD player. Like it's definitely a general thing.
Yeah, see, Chris does that. I don't do that anymore. I don't. The last time I listened to a CD might have been 2014, maybe. You know. But all my music, I'll do what you do, Ron. I'll put it on my computer. It goes onto Google Play, which is now YouTube Play, and all my library's there, and I can just listen to it all. You know, if I go for a walk, it's all on my phone. I could just listen to a nice headphone and just go for a walk and listen to my entire library. It's right there.
Like the world's biggest Walkman of songs.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, what I do is I put it on a USB thumb drive, and in my car, there's a little port there, and I put it in there. So I go like once every like 3 or 4 days. I pull it out, put it into the computer, take out albums, put new ones in, whatever, it's like.
That's old school, dude. What you're doing is you're making little new playlists on that USB drive, which is cool. You can do all that these days, on other things, but that's cool that you do that. It's interesting, Chris, you do that. You're putting.
I know.
That's great.
I tell my kids, like, I have CDs in my car, and they sometimes look at me like, what's a CD? And I'm totally. Compact disc. Oh, compact disc. Yeah. It's like, so even like the term CD means nothing to a generation of, 10 to 18-year-olds. Because like Brett said, that's just not something they buy or even think about owning, because they don't even have anything that's going to play it. Even all the new MacBook Pros and stuff, they don't even come with CD drives.
Yep.
So it's like, it's like an old, I have spin blank CDs just to burn either mixes or albums I buy from iTunes. So I have a physical copy. That's and then awesome. I have like 10 Sharpies laying around, and they're all customized with my handwriting.
That's so cool.
Jane's their new one.
Well, I used to, years ago, I used to make, before I figured out how to do the USB drive thing, I used to make, the equivalent of a mixtape on a CD, and to put it in. So it's like, I would make anywhere from like, especially for short drives, I would have under 5-minute song CD, and then if it's a little bit longer, okay, then the song titles get longer and longer and longer. It depends on where I'm going,
Yeah, it's great.
And
I love that.
And now it's like, the USB is so much easier. I could put in the albums, whatever new ones I buy, I take it and put them on that drive, and got it in my car.
That's great.
And, I mean, I would love. I know I can possibly with the Amazon Music, if I can figure out how to do the Bluetooth thing, put it so it goes into my car stereo. Because I have 2012 Subaru.
Yeah, all you need to do is just get the Amazon app, and then like you said, Bluetooth to your car, and then you just go to your app, your account in Amazon, and you'll be able to access all your libraries there.
Yeah.
That's your holiday homework, Ron.
There you go. Yeah, I got a lot of time,
Yay, holiday homework.
Yeah, I'm just nowadays, like you were saying earlier with the Zoom thing, all the capabilities you can now do. I think the next thing that someone needs to do is, I think the next generation of this application, where a band can come do a live setup where, each member will be in their home, and they'll be able to be patched in, through, I guess, like a monitor, same way, you're on stage, but you're patched in that way, especially if you got a band that, everybody is like more than 100 miles from each other, and they can't always drive, to do a live remote, like in a studio, because, with this, with the pandemic, we don't know when the next time an actual live concert is going to happen. And, I think something like Zoom, or maybe someone out there that's good with software, you should create something that for maybe a that's specifically for musicians that they can do a live thing from where different people in different countries or states. You can all
The big challenge, Ron, and you know this because we're obviously on Zoom now, and of course Skype and FaceTime are the same way. There's that delay of the audio. It's not actually the same time. I remember when the pandemic started last spring, I do private lessons, and I had never taught on any of these platforms, let alone a private lesson. And if you're doing a piano lesson or even a vocal lesson, you learn very quickly that the only way you can teach is by call and response or by call and answer. You can't both be singing or playing at the same time.
I know that
tricky. It's doable. I mean, I had to figure it out. And it was one of those things that, the first week of doing lessons was definitely interesting because you have to learn to say something and then wait. They say something and you wait. But then you work it out kind of like we're doing now, where you realize like we can't all talk at the same time, but we give each other that space and time to kind of say our thing, do our part, share our piece. But I agree with you, Ron. If the technology could leap to that place where it was simultaneous, it'd be a game changer.
Oh yeah, because then forget about. Let's say just put the pandemic thing aside. Now, what if you as a band, you can only afford to, let's say, do your touring in your general area, and maybe once in a while, somewhere over in Europe, or very rarely. I think East Coast bands get out west and vice versa.
Yeah, it's expensive.
So by having a live feed, now everybody in the whole entire world will be able to tune in. I mean, obviously you charge for it, but they'll be able to tune in. And now with all these televisions that are like, I think the last size I heard, 85-inch. An 85-inch television. Can you imagine watching a concert on an 85-inch television? And you can, if someone has that, that they're going to have like an amazing sound system.
5.1 or 7.1 surround. Yeah.
Yeah.
So supports it sonically.
Yeah. So it's like if someone has that, watching a concert, it's going to be. I mean, it's not going to be the same thing because you're not going to be able to. Yes, cheering, and we're watching you, but you're not watching us. So you can't really feed off of us unless you have like, maybe a select little audience of people that are safe, and they're not going to get you sick. Because I know, especially you, Chris, you're basically in the same boat as me that you can't be around some of these people that are not, covering their
asking. Yeah. You just have to be safe and smart. Well, Ron, you bring up the energy thing about live music. I think that was what was so special about those tracks Brett just mixed. He went back to shows that in our mind's memory were good shows, but weren't necessarily great, weren't necessarily standouts. And in going back through the songs, he's all of a sudden contacting Ray and I like, guys, there's some really good stuff here. Like, this has been a few years now, but you got to go back and listen to this version of Winter Through. We actually really played well on that. And you got to go back and listen to this version of Entry. We really played well on that. And then do you remember the cover tune we did, the Radiohead tune? They wanted us to do a prog tune. And so we showed up and did a song that to us is very progressive. I think Radiohead's a very progressive band. But by playing that song Lucky, it was cool. There were people in attendance at that festival who had no idea whose music we were playing. They didn't, they maybe had heard of Radiohead because at that point they were pretty popular, but didn't maybe support them or like them or know the song. And then there were some people at the festival that were like, they're playing a Radiohead song as their prog cover. That's pretty cool because Radiohead is truly progressive, a band that's constantly moving beyond where they've been. So the energy, hearing the applause in those tracks, I love that when Brett sent the mixes over and Ray and I were listening to them, it takes me back as a performer on that stage who was walking that tightrope of like, I hope I get through this solo and I hope I remember this next part. And wait, do I end on the E major chord or the E minor chord?
Yeah, that's the one thing that I I applaud bands when they do their studio thing live, because when I listen to, especially when I listen to headphones, it's like I can hear more things going on, and I'm like going, a lot of times I listen, how are they going to reproduce this?
How are they going to pull it off?
How are they going to pull it off? And a lot of bands surprise me that they do it, and they go even further. They make that studio album sound, the song sound even better on live, because they're getting, again, with the energy thing, you're feeding off of the audience.
Yeah.
And it's
well,
like,
and Brett can speak to this too. That's one thing we always prided ourselves in. If we recorded a song in the studio, we could absolutely play that song live. The difference might be if there were real strings, I was using a string pad on a keyboard to make sure that there was something there to replicate what we did in the studio. But the most fun of all is like adding a new intro or adding a new outro or doing a solo section where if it on the album was just guitar, now live it's actually keys, drums, and then guitar. And just giving options where players get a chance to stretch out and take a solo and do something that's different. Your audience members think they know what's coming next, and it doesn't always come next.
Right.
Sort of taking the song almost like a piece of taffy. If it was a 5-minute song, now it's a 7-minute song. I think of the version, Brett, you did on Britney from Philly a couple years ago. We took that 5-minute song and really stretched out some nice solos in there. There was a guitar solo, keyboard solo, little drum break. It was just sort of fun to all of a sudden take a song that we had done on the album, that we had played hundreds of times live. And now that night it was like, well, Britney, but it's Britney with a twist, because there's this whole cool little 2.5-minute thing we're going to drop in the middle. And then Brett, remind me, didn't we even go back and use some other things off of Cowboy Poems, like In the Meantime, In Between Times, stuff like that?
Mm-hmm.
Little teasers. So like we weren't going to play whole songs, but we threw in a little teaser track from the album at the end of the song, just to be like, y'all paying attention here? Because this was on Cowboy Poems.
Well, that's the Radiohead song. We inserted that into Britney.
Oh, yes.
Because we just played the whole song, and then all of a sudden we were soloing, and it just sort of goes in, breaks down, and then Ray comes in with the ching, 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 ching up on the guitar. And then at the end, you can hear at the fade out, we go back into Britney at the end of it. If anybody downloads it, they'll hear that. That's going back into it again, and we end up ending it,
and we ended with,
one of these days I'll put that out.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And that's just fun as musicians, Ron. I mean, that's, you said earlier, do people understand how albums were made? Most people don't, and that's totally fine and okay. But for other people who are musicians or musical themselves, I know I love to hear a band. I remember seeing the artist Seal. You guys all know Seal, Kiss from a... So I went and saw him at the Mann Music Center after that. It was during the Kiss from a Rose album tour. So we only had 2 albums out. Every single song he did live from those 2 albums was different than the studio album. And I remember being so impressed that, he had like 10 people on stage, backup singers, a little horn section, drums, bass, keyboards. He sometimes did acoustic guitar. But it was so impressive to think, okay, here's a guy who basically has this like pop dance rock album that's really popular. It sold millions of copies. He could just come out and play these songs as they sound on the album. And the average fan's going to be like, awesome. He played the song I like. Cool. He played Crazy. Cool. He played Kiss from a Rose. Every single song had its own special twist and arrangement.
Yeah.
As a musician, I went home more inspired and jazzed by that, because I was like, okay, that was beyond what I expected him to do with 2 albums that had sold millions of copies. But clearly he had a band of musicians who were willing and able to go there. He gave them all little solo breaks. They had little breakdowns where parts would stop. And you had to pay attention. Like as an audience member, you were like, where did we just... Oh, I see what they did there. They made this like a vocal breakdown with the drums, But it was, I liked it. I thought it was cool. I could see how a raised on radio fan might have walked away disappointed. They might have been like, it didn't sound like the album. But to me, that was what made it special.
That's the one thing. When I go to see a band live, I don't want to hear a note for note thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, if that's the case, I'll stay home and listen to the CD. I want to see the band actually do something, it's like, because I know, I don't know, but I'm gonna guess that, and a lot of times when you make that song and then after it's in the CD, later on you think, oh wait, maybe I could have done something here a little different. And that's where you can do it live,
Yeah. And sometimes the song grows on you differently. Like when you wrote the song, the version you recorded was the version you liked at the time as a band. But then a year later, it's like, we've played that song so many times. Let's change it a little bit. Let's keep it fun for us, but also add something special for the audience who's maybe has heard the song 5 or 6 times live. Tonight, they're going to hear it differently because we're going to change it up or something.
That's to me, as an audience member, that's what I like to hear. I like to hear, it's like, especially if you, throw little twists and turns, it's like you think you're going to go this way and all of a sudden you surprise the audience and say, here's something new, like kind of like doing the song but adding a little improv.
Yeah.
That's what I like. I know there's a lot, everybody's different, but I think as a dog band, we kind of like when the bands expand on things live, where because I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority about I don't want to hear note for note.
Yeah, well, what I think with that tangible thing is that we're talking about it, there's a bit of danger that you add to the energy of a song when you're live, when it's a little bit more free. If like with classical stuff, which is what I love, like there's a note for note aspect. The variance that happens in a classical performance is the conductor asking different things, directing it, turning things up, down, dynamic stuff. That's the variance. But other than that, they're playing the notes. There's no variance when you go and watch Beethoven's Ninth. It is the way that it is, unless it's being advertised as some kind of crazy new version. But with with jazz, or like with the stuff that Chris and I just put out, there's stuff in there that's not on the record. An obvious point would be Entry, that there's not a 20-piece string ensemble behind it. So you have to figure that out. Plus now we're also throwing in improvisational moments where we don't know what's going to happen because we've left these spaces in the songs to just figure out what's going to happen in the moment. And that danger, what I'm bringing up, is the thing that adds excitement and charge in the room. And the audience, we pick it up because we're creating it, because we're fearful of the train wreck that could happen. And then the audience feels it too, because it's like, oh, what's going to happen? It's great. It's a great little moment.
What are they doing? And we're like, we're not really sure, but go with us.
Exactly.
Thanks for us. We're not sure either.
Now, the one thing that I like, I've got something here. On one of your out, the Cowboy Poems Free. I like that those poems, those little interludes that you have in between those, and how each of them, it seems to like get a little bit longer, and it's like, I was always wondering, has that ever been played as a single piece live? And
we haven't,
because I think something like that would be amazing.
Are you saying the album top to bottom, or are you saying?
Oh, no, the poems. The ones that come in between the songs.
Yeah, I think there's 4 on that, 3 or 4. Yeah.
Yeah, because each one seems to get a little longer, and it's like a building up to where there's I think on the final poem it has it segs right into Too Late for Everything.
Yeah.
And that, it's like, it's almost like that's like a little mini album within an album in a way.
Ron, I think when we were writing, Brett, remind me if I'm correct here, I think we were almost calling them like palate cleansers. Like when you go to a fancy restaurant for a meal, they sometimes bring you like an appetizer, and then you get a little like sorbet to kind of like, okay, so let's get that taste kind of out of your mouth and change it a bit. We had never done something like that before in an album. And they're almost like little cinematic moments where it's like that song ends and there's not a poem after every song. Like I said, I think it's 3 or 4. But it's like a couple of songs and then a little interlude, and then a couple songs and then a little interlude. And we just called them poems because it was Cowboy Poems Free. It just sort of made sense that they were like musical poems to sort of change up the actual song titles.
Yeah, to change and then to sort of lead into whatever's going to happen next, you know?
Oh, that's right. We were always cognizant of what's the key the next song's going to be in. So we're either going to move into that key or the poem would end in that key. So you're already there in the new tonality.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot that that was all very purposeful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that thing. And then going back a few albums before, you know, Suffocating the Bloom, you know, that, was it The Suite for the Everyman?
Yeah, the 28-minute sort of medley.
Well, yeah, because how it's in pieces. Now, I used to have a CD recorder, a standalone CD recorder that you can keep it as pieces, or it attaches them all into one. And I missed that recorder because, you know, sometimes, you know, in those multi-part suites of songs, you know, it's like, it's kind of neat when you can have it as a single song.
Yeah, I don't think we indexed those. We may have on the first time we put it out. Did we index them?
Are you thinking of like the little canoning and B minor or B major sections and parts like that?
I think back in the day with those CDs in the early 90s, you could do it. If you had a CD player, Ron, that had indexing capabilities, you could put on, say, like that track, and you could hit the index button to go to index 3, index 4, index 5, and you could go to those sections. And I think Chris and I think we did index those. They weren't separate. Right. They weren't separate tracks though, but they were indexed in. So that's probably what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was just kind of interesting in how I was able to do that, make those. I don't know how many songs.
I think 12, 13.
Yeah, and then there was a button on my CD recorder that I pressed where I program the amount of songs into there. You know, like tracks, let's say 7 through 13, or whatever. You know. Program in there, and all of a sudden it doesn't become separate tracks, it becomes one track.
Yeah. Well, the song 12's enough was a sort of joke. It was like, all right, we've gone far enough with this. And then that was going to be the last song. And then I remember I was like, I got one more. It's called Suffocating the Bloom. You want to do that? And then we just stuck it on at the end.
And it worked.
It worked.
That one actually, it kind of felt like it was an epilogue to the.
It's an exhale.
Yeah, it's an Excel, exactly.
I always love that. And then we went back and redid Suffocating years later. We did like an updated version. We did that with Shades. We did that with Carpe Diem.
Oh yeah, on that box set.
Yeah. Just to, again, breathe new life into a song years later to see what you're thinking.
You know, Ron, Chris, there's a nice version of Suffocating the Bloom on the Mettler Bodine live one. It's really nice. Yeah, it's a really pretty version.
Is that the Jersey Tomato?
Yeah, that one. Yeah. That's up on Bandcamp as well. You know. Nice. Yeah, it's a really nice version. Yeah.
Yeah, and then going back to my favorite one, you know, that I told you, May, on YouTube, I've seen a lot of, you know, it has the live one that you guys did with the extra players.
Yeah.
And that one, that's.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's pretty tangible, the energy in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was at the theater.
I felt that even though I'm seeing it through, I felt both the band's energy and the audience energy.
I think it was a full moon that night.
Or close to one.
Close to one. No,
hey,
that was good. We had those really good players too that Chris had written the parts for. They did a great job.
And that was nice for me to not have to then transfer all the arrangements into my keyboard parts. For that show, I was pretty much playing what I wrote for the keyboard parts for the album, and the string players and the flautist and the clarinetist and the timpani player. We had an acoustic guitar player added in. Like all the parts then carried their own thing. And sort of like Brett said, it was almost more like a piece of classical music because it was scored out. And then the
And
energy.
I missed out on buying that DVD. What's it called? Stars and Gardens.
Yeah, you can
Dark
still
Garden.
get it, but there's not a lot of those left out there. You can get it on CD Baby, which it might be available in hard copy as well on Amazon too. But
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, we won't make any more of those because some people just throw up the songs on. I mean, you can go on YouTube and there's the May's on there, for
Yeah.
free. So
Yep.
I mean, if there was a demand that, to have that put onto a Blu-ray with, either a 4K scan or a 4K,
yeah,
full for it,
Yeah.
But by the time you do, if you ever did that, I hear on the horizon there's 8K and 10K coming, and it's like, when do you stop? It's like, do you want to feel like the person, the picture's like right in front of you?
Going up your nose.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I'm stopping at Blu-ray, but I'm sure there's going to be a time when Blu-ray is going to be a dinosaur like VHS.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the same thing applies to in music to what you're talking about with frame rate is sample rate, and it's like it's just pointless. I mean, we can only hear up to 20 kilohertz anyway, and when you're talking about sample rates of 96K, 192 kilohertz, it's like, I mean, I don't know,
The human ear can't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you can't hear it, and the file sizes get big, and I think, to be honest with you, a lot of the tests that are done as far as like people saying, oh, I can hear the difference, those aren't true. I mean, I've seen research where they're doing like blind tests and double blind tests. You can't tell the difference between something that's at 96 or 192K and something that's at 44.1 or 48. There's just you can't do it. I mean, 44.1 was chosen as a sample rate simply because it's the highest frequency is 22.05 kilohertz, and that's right above our. It's fine, You can't hear it. You can't hear that. We can't hear 60 kilohertz. We can't hear it. Dogs can. Bats can. Dolphins can, but we can't.
Right. And it's like that. With when I listen to people talking about, especially when bands, put out their 5.1 mixes of things, and then you got someone, like a remaster of something, and then it's someone going, oh, I noticed the difference. There is some stuff where you notice the difference, but then there's stuff that they're just so close that it's like, unless you have, let's say, the 1993 mix in this year and the 2020 mix in this year, there's really honestly no way you can actually, unless you're, that's what you do, if that's your job, is to notice the differences.
The thing that people get tripped up on is they think, for instance, people will say vinyl sounds better, and they'll think it's because of frequency range. It's not. It's just because the process of vinyl is you can't, the noise floor is so much greater on vinyl, and that means the dynamic range is going to be less as well too. So you have to really be cognizant about using compression and limiting. I mean, there were rules, back in the UK and in the US back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s that you couldn't go above a certain compression or limiting range because the needle would slide across there. So you have to leave that dynamic range, which dynamic range is a beautiful thing. And one of the reasons that the main reason vinyl sounds good when you have a good recording is it sounds beautifully open, meaning that there's peaks and valleys of beautiful changes and stuff like that. But, to contrast that, I'll listen to the local radio station around here, 93.3 MMR, and it's just like, and it's
it's right all in your face.
It's just hard, and some bands they'll make a CD that's just the same way, and it's like they're not taking advantage of the amazing amount of dynamic range on a CD because they think louder is better, but it's not. Right. So that's why vinyl is cool, because you're forced to do something, but digital is actually way better. I mean, digital stuff these days exceeds analog frequency range, but like I said, it doesn't matter anyway because we can't hear that high anyway. you know.
Right.
Anybody that tells you
Ron,
different like that, and that's this thing, anybody that tells you different that vinyl is all they're recognizing is a quality as far as like a sound of something. Like tape sounds different. Is it better? That's arguable. It's not. I mean, it's the frequency ranges on CD or digital are better now than vinyl and tape. It's just it's the way it is, you know. There's a coloration in tape that happens with tape compression, but the first thing that happens when I listen to tape is I hear hiss immediately. It's like there's hiss. The noise floor is right there. You know, you don't get that with digital at all. You know, it's just that these are scientific facts. You know, and people talk about. I mean, I don't want to get too nerdy, but you know, there's a discontinuation of sample rates, meaning there's an off moment and an on moment of taking a snapshot of an analog signal, meaning an electrical signal. And people say, well, analog doesn't have that discontinuation, the off moment. Those are called quantization errors, but you can't hear that. There's no way. Plus, electrical signals still, there's peaks and valleys. You know, just like with a sample, it's like you can't hear that stuff. Anybody that says they can is just confirmation bias. They're lying. Test them out in a blind test. You know, it's like it's just BS. You know, they're not gonna be able to tell. There's my rant on that. I've listened to so many interviews with people from, you know, Dave Grohl to, you know, Jack White, just, you know, advancing the ideas of analog recording as far as superior. It's not. One of the great things about analog is that you actually, the options of fixing things are not the same. You can't fix things as easily. And that's really cool for me because you have to know how to play your instrument. And that's an awesome thing. You capture a moment and it's cool. And it's got a vibe to it. It's got a sound to it. Digital, you can fix till you're blue in the face, you know?
Oh yeah, but then I think when it goes that way, it almost feels cold.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying, I wrote something up that Chris and Ray and I shared. It's when I listen to these live performances that we are just available now, it's like there's mistakes and temporal changes and all kinds of stuff that's evident only in a live performance that by members of a musical group playing together in one room at one
human being. Yeah.
at one time. Like that is, I'm in the studio all the time, and it's rare that anybody's in a room all playing at the same time. When we cut As the World and The End is Beautiful, and a lot of these albums, we played in a room together, live. You know, if I go back to, you know, when we go back to The End is Beautiful, there's 3 takes of the song. And we basically like, well, let's pick that one. It sounds better. We would go through it. Just 3 performances on every take, you know,
right?
Because we went in there and played it live as a band, and that's the way it is.
And we have rehearsed the band prior too. Like we
Right.
put the time in to say, we know these songs. Let's now go in together and be a band and cut this.
Exactly. That album sounds the way it does because we played it live in the studio. And that's even more so than As the World. That album we did the same thing with, but we then went back and we recorded parts replacing things. But on The End is Beautiful, that's not the case. When Chris is playing the organ, he's playing the organ in real time with Tom and Paul and myself and Ray. It's all real, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I like. Honestly, that's what I like, because then when you guys are all, when I hear bands when they say they recorded their sound live, you can tell the difference because, you know, then, you know, if a band records, you know, one day they do the drums, the other day the bass, and then the vocal, you know, etc. I mean, that's a creative thing because then you're fitting all those pieces together. But then when you do it all there, you're all there, right? You're gonna be a band of humans.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm not saying that's better or worse. There's a potential for some really good things that come out of a live performance. Like when we make stuff, like Chris and I have made albums that's not the case, but we always have in our mind that live performance thing that you need to get to in your overdub performance and stuff like that. When we cut The End is Beautiful, I remember we hired an engineer, Pete Moshe, who does the Live at Daryl's House these days. He's a great engineer, sweetheart of a guy. And I remember when we got done playing the first tune, we came in, we're like, what do you think? He's like, first off, this is so nice to actually see a band play live in the studio and have it at this quality. And that made all of us feel really good and gave us confidence, because even him, and that was in 2005, that live playing had gone away, and we were doing it, and that's, 15 years ago. It's even
Right.
more so now. Nobody cuts stuff live. But
And Ron,
yeah.
to echo what Brett's saying, because this new album that we're working on now, which unfortunately, got put on hold from the pandemic, but it's going to come out.
Yeah.
When we're writing an album, that's what we're also doing. We were physically putting ourselves in the room together, whether I drove up to Pennsylvania and met Brett and Ray at Brett's house, or whether Brett and Ray drove down here to Delaware and met me in my house. We physically put ourselves in the same room together, and we're writing this album saying, okay, this might not be the final guitar part I'm going to play, or the final bass line I'm going to play, or the final keyboard part I'm going to play, but does this hold water and weight as a song?
Yeah.
And if it does, it has all the potential to go anywhere it wants to go. If it
that's
doesn't,
a good point. Good point.
then if it doesn't, then that's when we, hash out parts. And it's like, well, let me work on something here. I'm not loving what I'm doing. Yeah. And that's how the album's been coming together. We were in the process of that. I was actually up in Pennsylvania Saturday, March 7th, cutting piano parts.
Right.
And then, of course, the federal shutdown happened the next weekend, March 14th.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I remember leaving that day and I was like, well, guys, we hear this COVID Corona thing's going on. I'll probably see you in a couple weeks, but let's just stay in touch and see what happens. And then a week later, shut down. It was like, oh boy.
Oh, I know.
But Ron, I can't wait for you to hear this new stuff, because so much of this conversation we're having is what we're technically still in process with. We're still working on this new album, and we're proud of it, Ron. It's going to be one of the best we ever put out, because the
I can
songs are
imagine
reflections of us where we are now.
Oh yeah, it's like I notice on the map, I think Maine is has the lowest cases and everything of the pandemic. So I'm happy I'm here. My home state of California is going, especially the southern part, is going into lockdown tonight.
I think it just happened. 5 o'clock. Well, it'll be there at 5 o'clock.
Yeah. So in
Yep.
about 3 hours, 4 hours.
Yeah,
something
3
like that.
hours. Yeah.
Including, I think, a curfew at 8 o'clock.
Mm.
And so unless you're in the medical field or an essential worker, no one's going to be allowed on the street. And I really think that that's what we need to do nationwide, so we can get back to I don't like to use the word normal, because normal doesn't exist anymore.
And there won't be
get back to our lives, our livelihoods, like of you as musicians, people, because I have many musician friends, prog and rock musician friends, that I'm hearing across the board how it's affecting them various different degrees,
Yeah, totally.
Well, and Ron, one thing for us that's been hard, because we are 3 hours apart from each other, we have been very diligent and safe. And I would actually say, I would use the word smart, in that we haven't put ourselves in harm's way by crossing borders of states that have quarantine restrictions, by, making sure that if we are going to try and get together, it's going to be safe and smart. And unfortunately, that hasn't happened yet. Every time we had plans to get together and keep working on the album, it didn't come to fruition because caseloads went up. Pennsylvania did a restriction. Delaware did a restriction. So we're frustrated, and we're disappointed because we miss each other. We haven't seen each other since March 7th, actually seen each other. We do Zoom.
Right.
But the album,
physically where you can say, hey buddy, how you doing?
Right. Raise a beer, sit at the piano, talk to Brett with his guitar standing next to me. Like, that hasn't happened yet. It will. And our plan, to keep an eye on the calendar and to sort of say, when can we get together? When do we have the opportunity for that to, it'll happen. We're keeping ourselves buoyant. We have a little a hangout site that we all talk through, where we can send like a group chat message. Of course, we all text each other, even jumping on to do this today. like, I'm so excited to talk to you, Ron, but I'm also excited to see my friend Brett. You know, it's just
Oh
cool
yeah,
like reconnect and know that it's like we're still muddling through this and we're going to get to the other side of it. We're excited because we have so much new music that we want to finish completing. There's new parts to still arrange and write vocally in terms of harmonies and stuff like that. Still new parts to record, solos and sections, and we might double some verses here and double a chorus there. But we'll get there, and then that'll be our way of sort of icing the Echolyn cake by saying, look, we started this thing pre-COVID, and now we're going to finally wrap it up and end it and put it out for the world.
oh yeah, and I think I look forward to every release that you guys put out, and since I first heard about you guys, and it's like I even went back and get the only one I still need to go and get is the reissue of the As the World, because I got the reissue of the Cowboy Poems free, and that one I can hear some subtle differences.
It's the same. It's the same. The reissue of As the World's the same. Cowboy Poems. Yeah, there's a big difference on that one. You're right.
The rematch.
Yeah, because that one I remixed and remastered myself.
Now, isn't on the As the World one? Doesn't that have like an extra disc, or is that?
Yeah, it's got a live performance from the winter of '95. I think March of '95 when the album came out. We were out on a short tour. Yeah, we were on a tour. So yeah, that's the only difference. Other than the artwork, there's a nice little DVD in there that you can listen to.
Oh yeah, that's
like I'm sure somebody's probably put it up online at this point. So
yeah, that I this is how I feel. It's like I got the physical copy. Now I've already given the money to, and I feel good that I've given my money to the band. And it's like now it's like, okay, that's just like, okay, same thing as like if you buy a movie and then it's being streamed, it's easy. I think that's where the streaming thing comes into play. It's easier. It shouldn't replace it.
Yeah.
It's just like an extra thing, it's like, because when when I'm at my dialysis, I bring my tablet and I watch movies that I own in my library. I watch them. Same with the music. I watch them there. I already own them. So it's like that's just the extension. For me, it's an extension of my ownership of the physical media. Because I'm one of those people that fall in the. I may not be an extremist, but where it fall, physical media, it needs to stay alive, because that's actually, I think, in a way, the way I feel it is, it's like that's our look to the past, and then also, and it's also, I'm not sure what you call it, but just, a keepsake, a token of I got this when it was released. 5 years, 10, 20, 30 years ago, but I got it when it was released, and I still have it, and while I have streaming, I still have this physical copy, and I think that's it's like a bridge between the past and the present, for me, I know there's a lot of other people will say differently, that they, like you said, all they do is buy digital. And that's great. You put it on the cloud, then you can access it there easily. I mean, I do that too, but then I also have the physical.
Yeah. Well, my students give me a hard time because I do say I have a stack of CDs in my car. They're like, so Mr. Busby, you only can listen to 5 CDs, but on this device, I can have 25,000 songs. Like, why wouldn't you do that? And I'm like, I don't know. I like having the CD, like you said, Ron. Like there's something physical about opening the case, sliding it into the disk drive, and then 8 songs, 10 songs, 12 songs later, it's done. And I either hit repeat or I hit eject and I pop it out and put in the next CD. And it's old school. It's very old school, but it's visceral. because it's the way I was raised and it's what I think I enjoy the most. Even though, like Brett said, I have an iTunes account and all the new stuff that's coming out, when I found out something's coming out, if it's already out, I just go buy it. I don't want to order it and wait 3 days for the CD to come. I just want to go buy it, knowing that the rights allow you to put it on multiple devices and to burn your own copies. You know, I can burn a copy for myself for my car, and I'm not breaking any copyright laws. I paid for it. Yeah.
I think the way how you were just saying the kids react to you about CDs is probably the same way we will kind of react to someone that's even though we did have 8-tracks, but when we look back at 8-tracks, I think that was the worst format ever.
It was the same way when people invented cars. All the people that had horses and carriages were like, "What the fuck? What's going on? I can't use my horse and carriage skills anymore." You know?
Right.
Now we gotta make roads with things with car. What, you know? It just happens. It's a normal.
Oh yeah, it's it's like I understand, because it's like whenever, but then also too, with the exception of some rock bands and almost to all prog bands, your music isn't throwaway. And what I mean by that is a lot of music that I hear seems to just be background stuff. You don't really have to invest your time into listening to it because it's just back there. Nothing's really going on with it. It's just, okay, if it's a dance song, it has a good beat to it. That's all it is. Whereas music, progressive rock music, it's like there's layers upon layers, and you have to actually, your ears have to work, they have to actually go out.
It's interesting, Ron, because some people would argue that progressive rock music and classical music and jazz forces them to pay too much attention to the music. And a lot of people just want music in the background. They don't want it to be something that's intrusive. They just want it to be something that's like a step above white noise, which I get. I mean, it's why you walk into a grocery store and they're playing the radio. You get into an elevator, they're playing Muzak. You go to a doctor's office, there's soothing music to keep your stress level down because people get anxious when they go to the doctor's office. At the same time, for those of us, I know the three of us are this way, we find a love in music that does challenge us to pay attention, that does say, hey, you could daydream a little bit here, but you also might want to check out this part that's going on because it's going to demand your attention maybe more than a piece of background music or Muzak or something that's formulaic, that's made to just be background music, to move people through a store at a certain pace during the time of the day.
Well, I mean, I would say, to speak for myself, it's just, I just look for something new that's happening that I haven't heard before, because frankly, I can listen to, prog bands too. And I'm like, I've heard that 5 million times. Like, I don't care about Dream Theater anymore because it's like the same thing all the time.
Right.
I mean, I would hope with the music that we write, it's always something a little bit different. Now, I would probably be honest enough and say that, Chris and I probably have a style, and Ray, with the stuff that we write, one of the reasons it takes us a long time is because we're always looking for some sort of a different impetus behind the recording of it. So we are cognitively trying to do something different, at least in the realm of our writing practice. But, we probably, people listen to our stuff maybe and they're probably like, oh, that's Echolyn. That sounds like what they always do, which I completely can understand because I do that to other bands. Like I said, Dream Theater or Transatlantic or whatever. It's just like, I've heard this a million times before.
Right.
But I'll put on other things, maybe a pop song or what. It actually doesn't even matter. It could be a classical piece. I'm like, oh, wow, I've never heard that move to that thing there. That intrigues me. And I think that's what turns me on to it. So that's just my point of view with it.
Well,
I agree with that.
I mean, you guys can do something different, but there is that Echolyn sound. It's just something, and a lot of it really has to do with right now the three core members, you guys and Ray. It's just and then with the vocals, between Brett and Ray, it's like they're two different styles, but then they fit so well.
It's like
I mean,
chocolate, and peanut, right?
yeah,
Reese,
yeah.
You got your
It's like they just,
you got your peanut butter in my chocolate. Sounds great.
yeah, it's like, you got, that's the one thing. And then I agree. There is a lot of, you don't really expect it to happen with progressive rock bands, but there's some progressive rock bands that just stay in their safe zone. I got a formula. I'm going to do this again and again and again and again. I'm not going to challenge myself, which it could, in a way, that's how, let's say, for instance, like Dream Theater, how it turned you off because you kind of maybe feel in a way insulted. It's like, putting the same album again and again and again. You're not doing anything different, but then you're selling me the same product almost each time. And I feel a little insulted that I'm giving you my money for the same songs. Whereas some bands I like, where one band in particular that's in the same genre as Dream Theater, Pain of Salvation.
Mm-hmm.
This
I've
band,
heard of, yeah, I've never heard of them.
album to album, they change, but the signature sound is still there, but he changes everything up from album to album. But it's very emotional driven music. I mean, it's all, it's
How's the singer?
he's actually really good. He has like different ranges. At first, when I first heard him back in 2000, I thought there was 3 singers. And he's doing it all. He does it from a deep voice to a kind of almost falsetto, and then there's something in between. And I honestly thought that there was 3 singers. And then I go look on the credits, and there's only one with backup, backing. And it's like, okay, well, no, it's like these guys are just doing the harmonies. So wait a second, that guy's doing all those 3 style vocals. It's a very interesting, abrasive. There's nothing melodic about the music. It's very abrasive, but it's, again, like I said, it's emotional driven. It's, and a lot of it is, he has some political stuff. He has some personal stuff, philosophical stuff. He just does all sorts of things. And it's like, and you don't, and then I listen, read these articles of people, complaining, oh, why didn't you put the part 2 of that album out? And it's like, that's not why it's called a progressive rock band, or progressive metal. That's not what it's about. You're not making a sequel unless the story, you didn't finish the story on that one CD, that maybe later on, 15 years later or something like that, this happened.
Yeah.
But if you're just doing from one CD, let's say you do As the World, and then they're expecting As the World Part 2, which I'm gathering Sony did.
No, they didn't even give us a chance to do another album. They were like, thanks, we don't know what to do with this. Next. Because their marketing people honestly did not know what to do with that album, because it didn't fit marketing plan A, B, C, D, or E. And we got upset at the time because we're like, well, then make a plan F or G and put us in that plan. And it was almost like, because we didn't fit those earlier pre-marketing plans for, you're an R&B group, you're a dance group, you're a pop rock group, you're a Rage Against the Machine, you're a Michael Jackson, you're a Michael Bolton. People were like, what is this? And at the end of the day, I think it was easier for them to just say, we'll just use this group as a tax write-off against the millions we made over here with this band, which
Right.
happens all the time. I mean, that's how those companies afforded those massive skyscrapers in New York City. They could rent those floors on 550 Madison Avenue, hence the label 550.
Right.
And there you go. That's how they did it, is you need bands to take a bath, and you need those losses of the hundreds of thousands of dollars they spent to go against the millions that you're making from your other artists.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's just, I just like music that, I mean, granted, there is, now if you finish off the album and then there's that last song, and then you figure, okay, well, it needs to have maybe a bridge to the next album, maybe something. But, when you're just doing carbon copies of the same music, it's just, for me, as a listener, I kind of feel a little insulted because, you're insulting my intelligence. It's like, you're trying to, you know, switch it up. It's like, come on, it's like, you don't need, if you're going to do it as a pop rock band, okay, fine. You can do that. But, a rock and a progressive rock bands, they, especially one, the more experimental rock where it's not quite progressive, but it's, I think what would they call that? Art rock,
Mhm.
where it's
Sometimes
like, it's like right in the middle, and it's like, I just think, I just like music that challenges me, my mind, and also it takes me places. It's like I may go to the place that you as the musician envision, but I might go somewhere else because maybe I saw something, heard something in that song that it's going to take me somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Ron, you've probably heard this in interviews that Brett and I have done before. It's not a selfish thing, but we write these songs for ourselves first, no matter what.
Right.
At the end of the day, we write songs, writing songs together. We're friends. We're a team. We're a band. We're our own little musical island. You've heard us use that phrase too.
Right.
So when we get together, it's us for us. At the same time, we're very aware that now that we have this following of fans around the world, odds are most of the music we're going to write is going to end up either on an album or as like a B-side single that gets released after the album, because if we're going to pour the time and energy into writing a song, we might as well release it to the world, and there's going to be people that want to hear it. But we have to love our music first or it doesn't come out. Like there's no reason to put something out unless it's like the love of what we do as a band, which is, the blood, sweat, and tears of being a band, and like working through a song. And like Brett said, hashing through parts and arrangements and vocals. And, should we do a 2-part vocal here? Should we do a 3-part? Should the singer sing it all at this part? We haven't done a guitar solo in 2 songs. Maybe this is a great place for Brett to do a guitar break. Or maybe Chris should start the song with that guitar part Brett's playing 3 minutes into the song, but he'll break it down on the piano as a keyboard part so that when Brett's guitar comes in later 3 minutes, people might have that connection of, oh, that's that same progression. But of course, it sounds different on a piano than it's going to sound on a guitar.
Right.
So there's like this whole other thing that we even do, which is like, I call it a vetting process. Like it has to pass us first. And then if it passes us, we're willing and able to release it to the world beyond us. And we've gained and lost fans over the years. I know that. I've had people say, people were like, oh yeah, that first album you put out, that's Echolyn, 1991. And it's like, well, yeah, that was Echolyn, 1991. But, since all these other releases, we probably tend to be more in love with the I Heard You Listening, the 2012 Window Pane album. Like those are our most recent albums. That's more who we are right now.
Right.
But truth be told, this brand new album that we're working on now, it's a pretty neat amalgam of all of that stuff. You're going to hear some moments of And Is Beautiful, As the World, Suffocating. Like it's all there because it is Echolyn.
Right.
But it's also going to be very fresh and new because it's Echolyn now.
Well, it's the same writers,
Yeah.
It's Chris and Ray and I. So it's the same people that have been writing the songs since day one. The three of us,
And also too, it's like, you as a band evolve over the years. So you 20 years ago probably wouldn't think of doing something that you're doing now.
Very true.
Because you're not at that, you're at the, in the moment of time where you record your albums, and just say, let's say in 10 years from now, be in a different, mindset as to how you approach music. It could be completely different.
Yeah, I mean, that's
it just, you don't know. And when someone I don't like when someone says this album is better than that album. Like, no, it's different.
Yeah, that's a great way
Yeah.
to put it, Ron. Yeah,
They're each their own little special moment captured
Yeah.
in time.
yeah,
Exactly. And
Yeah.
and that's why, for me, a special moment is like with May, because it I don't know what it was that it hit me as it's actually, I think I told you, Chris, one of the days at dialysis, I wanted to listen to something, and I always loved that album when that came out. I just played it freaking death, and I go, let me watch the video and the live performance, and then that's when it took me somewhere, you know,
Yeah.
and it hit me, and it did, but when I say that, it's like it doesn't mean that the material that you did before or since doesn't have meaning. It's just that has it hit a special moment, and I think that's what the beauty of music is. Pieces hit you, whether it's like classical, jazz, pop, rock, progressive, or metal sound. It hits you a certain emotion or a certain moment in your life. You know, uh,
Yeah, it's called synchronicity. Something happens and it ties in with something, and then our memory schema ties that in with that and adds weight to it and meaning, like you were saying, Ron. And it sometimes that can elevate something, and sometimes it can diminish it.
and I just remembered the moment in time why I listened to
Yeah, it's beautiful.
that right
Thanks
after
for sharing that.
right after my heart attack.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
Right
cool.
after my heart attack, I listened to that, and that's what
Wow.
I had. And that's when I think I told you that it was like music was healing me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that
Well,
was one of.
Let me ask this. This might be a good segue into wrapping up our session, but also seeing if you'll be a willing participant. So when our new album comes out, which we don't have a release date at this point, when it comes out, would you be willing and able to do another one of these sort of roundtables? Hopefully Ray could join, and we could sort of discuss the new album. And it could even be at a time where you've had a chance to listen a few times, and then we could sort of together kind of rally around. And because I always love hearing people's, like, to us, we're going to know what the album sounds like by then. But for you, maybe a month after it comes out, you'll have had a month to spin it and play it a few times. You'll be able to ask some questions to us. Obviously, Brett and Ray do most of the lyrics, those kinds of things. And we can sort of do another one of these roundtables and sort of use it as almost like an album promotion kind of thing, similar to this, because this was great.
Yeah, Ron, we'll send you an advanced copy of it. That way, like Chris said, we can do a little interview to help promote it. That would be an honor.
Oh yeah. I would love to do that. I've seen a lot of these things done, by our mutual friend Sean Toner, and he does it on Facebook, and it was really ironic that he started doing it at the same time that I was thinking about it.
That's a coincidence, not irony.
But I went and looked at his friends list. I mean, I have 300 people, and he has, I'm only close to 2,000. So then
he's
connected with, but at the time when my website Prognaut was going pretty strong, I had over 1,500 people on my Facebook, and since then, a lot of them, it's like I went through and I just dropped some of these people because I'm no longer doing that as a regular thing. I'm doing occasional CD reviews, doing these things. I've done 3 with some friends from back home. I did one with, I'm not sure if you're aware of that band, The Tangent.
I've heard of them.
Their keyboardist singer, Andy, I didn't do it live. I did we recorded and then I put it up on YouTube.
Taped it. Yeah.
But then I was like, I want to do a live conversation with someone. And then I have my friend first one in California, and he was the one that told me about the evil Spotify. You know, I just love how he called it the evil empire in a way, you know, and it's like, and I enjoy that. And I like to do these more, and I'm not doing these as, you know, the traditional, I ask a question, you answer. I like the conversation, you know, where it just kind of like goes where it goes.
Yeah, it just ebbs and flows.
You know,
No
and, you know, because I think that, you know, once this, after this is the live part is over, it gets saved onto YouTube. So if anybody did miss it, they can go and watch it, you know,
Nice.
at their leisure. Maybe they didn't have the time to actually sit through the live part of it, but that's why I like doing it this way, because it's a lot easier, because it directly saves to YouTube. Whereas if I do it on Facebook, I have to save it to, you know, an extra step of saving it. You know, here's
Right.
Automatically. So like within a few hours, it'll be up on.
Well, Ron, I'll just say to you, thank you for reaching out to me. Thanks for also being willing to have Brett join us today. Just
yes.
This was fun, and it was a great opportunity to, I call it talking shop. Like, you know, music was the general category, but it was nice that we veered off to some other places too, because it's awesome to keep those kinds of conversations going. And we totally look forward to getting you, like Brett said, in a copy once the new album is ready and out.
Okay,
and then we'll connect with another one of these. I'm sure Ray can join too, and maybe even Jordan. Jordan's our new drummer. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that would be fantastic. You know.
Yeah.
Because
Awesome.
I got the super deluxe Zoom, so I can get more than a dozen people on here.
Okay, cool.
Like I need, you know, that'll be confusing, you know. But I can.
Well,
I can get.
We'll add 2 more people. It'll be 5 of us.
5 of us, yeah.
Thank you, Ron.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Oh, there you go.
Chris, thanks for sending that message to me this morning. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'm very glad you guys did this. It was a lot of fun, and I appreciate.
Thank you.
I appreciate your music. You know, what is it? 94. So I don't even want to count. It's been a while.
Yeah, we've been doing this a while, but we're not done yet. That's what's most important.
Oh yeah.
Like the Energizer Bunny, we're still going.
Exactly.
Thanks again,
guys.
All right. Thank you again.
Bye-bye.
Have a great one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.